Hey guys, this video is for educational purposes only. Please do not break the law. Hey Noah, welcome to the Growers MBA podcast. Noah, you are the CEO of Black Dog Hydroponics. So yeah, tell me a bit about yourself. Tell me a bit about your experience in the industry and your company.
Actual industry experience, I've been around the cannabis plant and learned to grow, I don't know, about 14, 15 years ago now. Been with Black Dog about 13 years. Been smoking cannabis for longer than probably most of your listeners have been alive. So over 30 years now. Kind of been around the plant for a long time, but really been in the industry for only about 15 years now. And it's been a really good time. I basically jumped in as soon as I saw rec happen in, the original states, Colorado, Washington, Oregon. Back then I saw that and I quit my day job at the time and said, I'm going to get into that industry. That seems like a lot of fun and where I'd like to spend the rest of my life. So I left pharma at the time, which is where I was working then, and jumped into cannabis.
Wow, that must have been seemed like a pretty good opportunity for you to leave the pharma industry, of all things, to jump into cannabis. So it's obviously something that you're extremely passionate about, and I love talking with passionate people. So I'm definitely going to be picking your brain here. I feel that people that are just super passionate about what they do, they're just awesome to talk to. So I'd love to learn a little bit more about Alien Hydroponics. You said you got into the industry and you were working, I guess, for Black Dog. What made you decide to launch Black Dog?
So I was basically employee number 2, if you will, Black Dog. The founder was struggling with the company, trying to figure out how to grow it. And we ended up meeting through a friend on a grow. Actually, I was working on a grow, doing trimming and talking to somebody. And we were talking about the industry. And he said he had a friend who started an LED grow light company, was trying to figure out how to grow it, didn't know much about business, was more on the grow side. And I told him that was more my background. I'd be happy to meet with him and help him. So that's how I got introduced through a grow to Black Dog and have been there ever since as employee number 2 and obviously CEO now. We did LED grow lights for a long time and we still continue to do that. But one thing led to another. And we've always looked for interesting, really leading products that are the best in their category. And we were working on a project and the project was using this Alien Hydroponic system out of the UK. We'd never heard of it, looked at it, thought, wow, that is a really cool system, had some really unique benefits to it. We ended up collaborating with Alien Hydroponics and one thing led to another. And now we are the North American exclusive distributors of Alien Hydroponics here in the US and Canada.
Awesome. And yeah, I do want to make that clear that you are the CEO of Black Dog LED, but you guys are the North American US distributor for Alien Wholesale. And on another episode, we're going to get into Black Dog LED. You guys have some amazing lights, and I really want to dive into those. But today, we're going to specifically talk about Alien Hydroponics and the V system that you guys sell, which we've sold a lot of them, and people love them. They're an amazing product. So let's dive into a little bit. First of all, I'd love to know, why don't you tell me just a little bit about what it is? How is it different than a standard RDWC system? What makes it stand out from your competitors? Just give us a general overview of what type of product this is.
That's a good question, actually, because they're all RDWC systems at the end of the day. And for those that don't know, recirculating deep water culture. Basically, the guy that did it had, like a lot of us that are in the industry, started underground, worked his way through. And you often back then, especially if you're kind of in the 80s playing with cannabis, a lot of stuff people did things kind of do it yourself, right? The DIY model, kind of look at what's been done and try to rig it yourself, go to Home Depot, get the parts. There were some systems out there. Now that it's come up, we've got some really nice systems out there. Current Culture is a great RDWC system. We used to sell that to our commercial customers. The RDWC, we can go into the details in a moment, but it's a certain type of hydroponic, right? But all systems, whether it's hydroponic or rock wool or soil, I don't care how you grow, there's advantages and disadvantages to every grow methodology or medium, right? Inside of each one, those specific advantages and disadvantages can be dissected. And so the guy that created this in the UK looked at the RDWC systems, which are all fairly similar, and said, what are the inherent problems, right? What are the shortcomings that I could fix if I was going to reinvent the RDWC system? And for those that have run them, know some of the challenges are, for example, air stones clog all the time. We are moving a water nutrient mix around that is designed to grow things very well and quickly. It's a perfect environment for growing stuff. So you get lots of algae growth and other things growing in your water if you're not careful. And certainly on the air stones, we've got highly oxygenated water, nice movement and all that. And it's the right temperature. So you end up getting clogged air stones due to the growth and all that inside of them. They get clogged. Now you've got oxygen issues in your water, which you need to keep your oxygen levels up. So clogged air stones, and that's been a challenge. And then also what I'd call nutrient distribution or homogenization of the water, right? So in a traditional RDWC system, you've got kind of what they often call a header pot or a top pot, whatever. You've got a pot at the end. You can top it off with water and or newts. But when I pour it in there, it kind of works its way down through the first pot and then to the second pot and third pot. So if you've been growing for a while and tried to, even if you're growing in soil and you've mixed a nutrient mix, you know that it takes a minute, even when you're stirring it, to balance it out, get it homogenized or get the pH to level off so you can then properly pH it, right? So that can take a long time when you're running water. I can add a little pH or a little newt, and it takes a while to really mix in the system, stabilize. So then I could either add another newt or add a pH up or down or whatever's appropriate. So those types of challenges existed. Those are two of the big ones that he went after. And I solved them. So those are the areas where I could say it really is different than the other RDWC systems. So for example, for air stones, there are no air stones. As a matter of fact, there are no air pumps. And you'd say, well, that's impossible. No, in an RDWC, you've got to have oxygen. But he was smart. And he actually, I think, had some automotive experience. If you go back, and I'll date myself, before fuel injection, we had carburetors. They work with something called a Venturi. It's used a lot of places in engineering, but a carburetor is where I used to run into it, is a Venturi. It's a area that's getting more narrow. As the air speeds up, it will create a vacuum or create a negative pressure, and you can use that to inject things like a liquid through an orifice. So what they do is he created a Venturi. So as he's pushing the water now through into the pots using his direct injection method, it's pulling air into it passively. There's no motors, nothing there, no mechanics, nothing to break. It's literally just a hole, water being shoved by it quickly, and that will pull it in. My auto shop teacher did a great job of illustrating this. If you take a straw, stick it in a glass of water, and take a jet of air, like pressurized air, like we had in auto shop, and run it across the top of that tube or straw, it will suck liquid up the straw and spray it out there wherever you're spraying it. So you can do it if you, it's based on Bernoulli's law. If you increase velocity, you decrease the pressure. So it's used in a lot of places. It's even sort of how airplanes fly. Bernoulli's law, sort of you increase the velocity over an airfoil and you get lift on an airplane on a wing. So he took this really killer concept and applied it into our grow. So now you have no air stones, you have no moving parts there, because I have to move the water anyway, so I've got no additional moving parts to get the air in. They don't clog, and it does bring us to the maximum dissolved oxygen, which is your goal in a hydroponic system. We want to have as much oxygen as I can in that water, and that's dictated by the temperature of the water, and we can get to the maximum allowed at any temperature. So it's a really cool way of solving the inherent challenge of that air stone problem. And as I mentioned, the other one is that distribution. And I mentioned a moment ago, direct injection, and that was his idea. So instead of running along the bottom of the pots, one pot to the next, which takes a long time to mix, and if you have a lot of pots in a row, your first pot's getting great newts, every pot's taking newts out of that, and by the time you get to the end, maybe that last pot's not getting really good nutrient mix, right? Which we all want all of our plants to be strong, not just the first few. So he solved multiple problems by doing a direct injection, where he takes the nutrient mix out of the header pot we were talking about, pressurizes it, runs it down a separate line into each individual pot. That gives him the velocity, the speed he needs to make the Venturi work and suck the air into the system. Plus it means if I drop something in there, within a few seconds it's being injected into every pot. We actually did a visual demonstration of this and put it on our site on the YouTube channel. We dropped food coloring in the header pot, and you can see in a 6-pot system how quickly it goes into every single one visually, and it's just seconds. It's really amazing. So he solved two of, I'd say, the largest inherent problems of a traditional recirculating deep water culture system with those. There are lots of other nice things like the drain out. He came up with a way so that when you drain the system, the pots actually drain. There's not a 1/4 inch of water at the bottom of every pot. He created a great way to thread them where you could still get a drain at the bottom. So we solved lots of other little problems, but the two big ones would definitely be the recirculating, getting the water to mix quickly, and then also the air stone challenge, because those are things that can make growing in these systems a little more difficult.
Hey guys, quick interruption here. I just want to let you know that every single product mentioned on this episode is available for sale at greenthumbdepot.com. We love hearing from growers just like you. So if you mention that you heard about us on this episode, We might even be able to throw in a bit of a discount. You can shoot me a personal email at james@greenthumbdepot.com or give us a call at 833-416-0375. We have the best prices on the internet and the best customer service. Not to mention, we offer free shipping across the continental US with no sales tax outside of Nevada. All right, let's get back to the episode. That is such a good answer, Noah. And you're really good at explaining things, because I was actually able to visualize that the entire way as you explained it. So it's a fantastic answer. It sounds like he really fixed a lot of the issues that typical RDWC systems were having. So that brings me to my next question, which I'm curious, what is the general benefit of using an RDWC system like the Alien Hydroponics versus something else, even growing outdoors, whatever it is? Why should someone choose to try to go this method versus another one?
That's kind of a hard question, because I try to remain somewhat agnostic. Even though we are the distributor of Alien System, my first love is cannabis, not a system or a methodology. So if you have a way that you love growing cannabis, good for you. You don't have to switch or try anything. But some people might want different things out of their grow. And if you're looking for explosive growth, for example, or you're trying to scale, there are challenges with different mediums. As we said, there's advantages to all and disadvantages. I love soil. It's very stable. It's simple. It's a great place to start. Anybody who's learning to grow cannabis for the first time, I'd almost recommend you should start with soil just to get that foundation knowledge. That's my personal belief there. However, once you get some understanding and knowledge and you want to turbocharge things, that's where I think hydroponics really can come in, whether it's RDWC or any of the other type of hydroponic systems you guys would sell at your shop. The advantage of them is you get more constant contact with nutrients, right? The nutrients are always there for them to grab. So, you're hanging out, watching a movie, you got a bowl of chips waiting there. You can reach out and grab it at any time. It's always going to be there. So anytime the plants need something, they can grab it. It's always available. Whereas if I'm in a soil medium, yeah, they're going to get it for a while, but then as I'm letting the soil cycle properly and dry out, they're going to have less access to it. And then hopefully they're going to grow their roots and extend them. So there's a methodology and a process to it. But when you get into a hydroponic medium where they're always in contact with a nutrient solution, assuming there's oxygen available to them as well, they kind of have everything they need at all time. They're at a buffet and they're just able to kind of all you can eat, right? So they are going to pack on some pounds and do that. So can you grow better flower, let's say higher quality? I would say that depends on the nutrient mix and things like spectrum, what you're growing with. There's a lot of variables. But I don't think anyone could argue that you can grow like faster vegetative period in a hydroponic system. Now, as somebody who grows cannabis, I'd say, yeah, if I have a 10-week strain, it's still going to probably be 10 weeks in a new hydroponic system. But you might get more explosive growth during the takeoff period when you flip into flower. And certainly in veg, it's different. For example, coming from soil, vegetative period's 3 to 6 weeks, no problem. We got guys running the V system and they're like, man, I ran 14 days of veg and that was way too much. Stuff just blew up. That doesn't happen as much in soil. I get some really good growth, but not just insane growth, right? In 2 weeks to where I feel I over-vegged. So I think your big advantage to moving to a hydroponic or a V system type of setup is that kind of explosive growth you can get with that constant nutrient contact. And I mentioned scale, right? So soil's great and I love it. Does it scale up to a massive, 1,000 light facility? Maybe not. It's a lot of dirt to move around. Guess what's real easy to move around? Water, pump it through lines and such. So there's scale issues as you get bigger to think about too. And that's one advantage to move into hydroponics is it scales quite well into larger grows. So yeah, there are multiple advantages to moving to a hydroponic system like V System, both for the home grower looking to turbocharge their grow or for a commercial grow looking to get even larger, let's say.
Cool. That's a really great analogy. Just basically a hydroponic system is equivalent to the flowers hanging out at a buffet, eating as much as they want, whenever they want, getting as fat as they want. I mean, what a life. What a life for these flowers. So cool. That's a wonderful answer. I'm glad you explained it that way. So typically you touched on a couple of things, which was my next question. I wanted to ask you what type of grower these are typically for, but it sounds like maybe the kind of slightly advanced to the commercial grower. If this is your first time growing, it kind of sounds like maybe not the best option, or what do you think on that?
I would say a strong intermediate grower could definitely do it because they are fairly easy. If you understand how to mix newts, it kind of works well here. But things move quickly, right? So when they move quickly, you don't have room to adjust and course correct. So yeah, a beginner, maybe not as much, But anyone who's gotten their legs under them, done a few harvests. So let's say you're a cannabis grower and you have a normal setup, you're doing 3 to 5 harvests a year at home. After a year, I'd say you'd have enough experience to move into a hydroponic system. The V system in particular, and we can speak about that later if you'd like, tends to be really big. It is the largest pots available today in an RDWC system off the shelf. It is definitely made to crop out big and grow monster plants. So some of the other Alien systems that we'll be importing later might be a little more appropriate for smaller home grow. But if you're looking to grow big plants, I'd say anyone with intermediate knowledge or above, as you pointed out, would be appropriate. But you're right, probably not a first-time beginner grower, unless the one caveat I'd say is if you're someone who's built a ton of stuff at home and you're very, very handy, so you don't have the learning curve of how to put together plumbing in addition to how to grow, then I could say maybe you could start with cannabis, but you'd have to be a real good educated do-it-yourself type person to have kind of that head start. Yeah.
Cool. And so I want to touch on, you mentioned the V system. So the V system is currently the only product you guys sell in the States. You did mention that you guys will be opening up a few more products from the UK because Alien Wholesale is a UK company. So if you guys are interested, check out the UK site because all of those are going to be available in the US this year. I'm very excited for that. Those are some awesome products. But I do want to touch on the V system. So let's say I've just purchased one of your guys' beautiful systems and I'm like, all right, where do I start? And I want to make sure this is a fantastic first grow. What type of nutrients am I looking at to purchase? How should I approach this? What's kind of the steps from seed to drying?
So it's funny because I thought you were going to go really into the setup. So talking about the whole thing, the first step is actually the setup, right? And, even thinking about it is really before that is picking the right system for you because we have, at this point, we've identified 51 different systems. It's very flexible. So we got 51 different sizes and configurations. So we'd have a 10 pot 1 row, 10 pots in a long row. We could have a 10 pot 2 rows, so it's 2 rows of 5. You could have, so there's all these different permutations. Same basic system, just different takes on that system, different ways of configuring it. So once you pick the system, then as you said, you buy it, get it. Now you've got this, our smallest system still, because it is such big equipment, is a pallet. So you buy a small 4-pot system, you still get a pallet showing up at your door. And now you've got a pallet of gear to put together. So we are huge. From Black Dog LED, we learned and we agree that customer service is the key. So we do a lot of education. So we have full videos about how to build. We've revamped the instructions completely from the UK version to make them a little more comprehensive and deeper. So it comes with, I think it's around a 30-page instruction book. Then we have a video that you can watch along with the instructions to kind of give you that video aspect of the instructions. So we walk through all that. And of course, last line of defense is we have chat. We're on all the social media platforms and we have a phone number and of course, email. You can hit us up and we're really big on supporting the person. So you do have to set it up and build the system. It takes a little bit of time, but could be done in an afternoon for a home grow system, no problem. Once you've got it all put together and full of water, now we can jump into your question of what do I do? You obviously let the temperature stabilize. You should have a chiller hooked up to it, which you can purchase from us, or we recommend buying it from whoever you're buying the system from. So if you're buying it from you guys, they should talk to you about getting the right size chiller, package that with it so they maintain the appropriate temperature to reduce any growth in the water that we don't want to have and help with nutrient uptake. So now I've got a system that's full of nutrients, full of water, and it's the right temp. Let's make that assumption, okay? And it's running. Now I can drop my clones in there. And as you said, let's go seed to sale, right? So my clones, I'm gonna have to do them. We've all cut clones, whether you put them in plugs or this, you generally wanna use something that's not going to fall apart because you don't want it falling in the water. So a rock wool plug is kind of the traditional clone method we're gonna use to go into a V system or any RDWC system. So I'm gonna cut a clone, put it into a rock wool plug and get it rooted somewhere else, let's say. Once I've got some roots poking out the bottom of that plug, I can drop it into the net basket, pack something around it to hold it and stabilize it, such as hydrogen or expanded clay pellets. So now I've got that sitting in there, roots maybe sticking out the bottom, and I let it go. There are a few tips and tricks, like if you don't have much roots at all, you can fill the system a little more to get the water closer to the basket, so the little bit of bubbling of the air bubbles will keep it moist so the plant won't dry out and die, and it will make it to the water. Once those roots enter the water, it's going to take off and just explode in growth. So now you got a plant that's in your top of your pot with roots in the system and it's growing. As we spoke about, veg can be really quick in these systems. It depends what you're trying to do, how much, of course. If you top a lot, that'll hold you back and slow it down. If you're going to just let it go off to the races, it's going to go really quickly. When you're ready, you're going to flip into flower. We all know, or hopefully this is again why I'd say it's good for a beginner not to have it. Most beginners, myself included, all learned, don't grow your plant to the size you want and then flip. You need to flip before it gets to that size, right? So you flip when you believe it's at the appropriate size and let it take off. Get your lights on a 12-12 cycle, and here you go. Now you're in flower mode. And then you're going to flower just like anything else. Now, maintenance throughout the system, you're not watering it. It's got water all the time. We recommend a water change every 7 to 10 days, depending on how it's feeding, how the plant's looking. Also, you're going to have to top it off. Small system, you could top off manually. Every kit comes with an inlet and a float valve. So you could hook up any gravity fed or any pressurized system to it and just let it go. And as the water drops, it's going to top itself off. So you can use either a manual method or top it off. And that's just on a daily basis, because we all know in flower, those ladies are going to drink like crazy. So it does require regular topping off. And then again, you're going to want to refresh your newts about every 7 to 10 days, depending on what newts you're using, how you want to grow, how hard you want to push the plants, and how fast they're growing, right? So that's the general run through all the way. And then at the end, you're going to harvest it just like you would any other plant. Cut it down. Obviously, flushing's real easy. Stop putting newts in. That thing will flush quick. It's not like soil where you really got to flush the nutrients out. It's like, that's one advantage of hydroponics. Flushing becomes very fast and easy. And then, go ahead and harvest and enjoy. But it's really that simple. There is definitely less labor than if you're kind of hand watering in soil. This would reduce your labor because it's going to just kind of take care of itself, other than you're refreshing the system.
Cool. Well, there you folks have it. You are now all expert growers. I mean, listen back to that 3 or 4 times and you should be good to go. No questions needed. So I wanted to ask you, you had mentioned earlier on about your guys' kind of customer service and how there's so much instructions and help and everything that you guys offer. I mean, these are fairly hefty investments. So people are, it's good to know that you guys are going to be there no matter what. But I do want to ask you, with regards to that, what is your guys' return and warranty policy when it comes to if there's some issues with the machine?
Yeah. Warranty, we support that out of it. Basically, if something breaks or is broken and it's not, your fault, you crack it, we'll support you, but you'd have to pay for it. But if there's any defects, we're going to take care of those. We don't take returns once you put water in the system, because we can't sell to anybody in a good conscience. We can't say it's clean and safe after that. So unlike our lights, which can be turned on, once you've used the system, it's not returnable, but we do support it. We've had people, hey, they get in there and they over tighten something, they crack it. No big deal. Let us know. We'll get you a part. We have, since we are the distributor, we have every single part. We actually don't have pre-built kits. We part them out for every order. So anything down to the smallest part, you need it, we can replace it, get it to you in a couple days. That's not like before when he was in the UK. A few people were trying to bring it here because they thought it was such a cool system. But if they needed a part, they had to get it from UK. Whereas now it's all stocked right here in Colorado, and we can get you taken care of. And of course, we've had that where somebody breaks something, we have to get it replaced. But support-wise, obviously, as you said, that's our thing, because everybody that works here, that sells our products, all of us have grown or actively grow cannabis. So we all care about it to that level. We're like, yeah, man, I've been there. I've had that happen to my grow. So we all have that compassion. We've all been there. So yeah, we do like to offer that extra level of support, because it's all, kind of near and dear to our hearts.
Cool. And I do just want to throw one thing in there that I think people should be aware of is you guys have an amazing rebate system, which if someone purchases your guys' product from me or another hydro shop, preferably from me, but from Green Thumb Depot, you guys offer a really, really generous rebate. So I just want to throw that out there. It depends on which system you purchase, but you guys can contact us. It's on our website. All the information is there, but yeah, they're awesome over at Black Dog. And just to comment on what you said as well, I've been working with Noah and Black Dog and everyone over there for almost a year now, and everything he says is true. They really do care about the customer. Any issues we've ever had, they've immediately resolved without question. So it's been wonderful working with you guys. No, I just want to finish this off with just a few fun questions if you have a little bit more time.
I do, but I would like to add to that rebate. The reason we do it, for those of you out there, if you were back walking into hydro shops before it went legal and before it kind of came above ground, If it wasn't for hydro shops, I don't even think we'd have legal cannabis here. They were the gathering, they were the coffee shop of the grow industry. It's right. It's where you went to get knowledge. It's where you went to learn about how to fight that bug or fight that disease. If we lost hydro shops to things like Amazon, it would be the worst thing to ever happen to cannabis ever. We need to help maintain those local hydro shops. They're incredibly important. They should be a place we gather, that we talk. I mean, I'd love to be able to burn in a hydro shop someday. I want to see them bring social consumption along with this with hydro shops. I'd spend all my time there. So for those of you watching that heard about that, we don't offer the rebate program if you buy from us. It's only for hydro shops, because all of us here have been in hydro shops for the last 15, 20 years of our lives at least, and care about them and would like to see you buy from hydro shops, not just buying online from Amazon or something. So please do buy local and buy from your hydro shops.
Awesome. Love to hear you guys are giving back. Love to hear how passionate you are about the industry, and love to hear how much you're doing to keep it alive. So yeah, let's jump into a couple, I wouldn't necessarily say fun questions, but if you're a new grower, I think these would be some pretty valuable questions, especially coming from an expert like you with so much industry expertise. Let's assume I'm someone coming to the industry. I'm curious. I don't know much, but I want to make a footprint. I want to get my name out there. I want to be a big cannabis grower. So do you have any advice for someone coming in? And because, yeah, the industry is competitive. It's not like it was a few years ago. And so coming in nowadays, it's not the easiest thing to do. So what advice would you give to a budding entrepreneur coming in?
First thing I'd say is, if you were like me, I wanted to get into cannabis, right? I didn't know where. I just knew I wanted to be a part of this new emerging industry. It was so great to be a part of something that was just starting, as you said, the budding industry, right? I would say first figure out what you want to do, because like you said, that there's, if you know you want to be a grower, then I'd say start trying to grow, learn to grow. Two ways. I would get a job in a grow, and that's generally going to be bottom of the totem. You got no experience. I started like anybody else, trimming. That's kind of where you started. And it's just where I used to come from, the restaurant industry, be the equivalent of washing dishes, right? You got to start at the bottom, kind of work your way up. So at the same time, if I was doing that and I thought I wanted to grow, I'd be getting exposed at a grow to working at a grow at the bottom. And then I'd also take advantage of home grow laws. I'd be going to my local hydro shop, grab some gear, and I'd start growing at home. I don't care if it's in the soil, hydro, it doesn't matter, but start growing the plant. What you're trying to figure out is, do you love growing plants? Do you want to do it for a living? I'm better on the ops side and on the product side, but I love growing cannabis. I don't know if I'd ever make a great head grower. I work with a ton of them. I love working with them, and I love being involved in grows. I've never been a head grower. I don't know if that would be a good fit. Where I gravitated towards the ops and the products and just the industry as a whole. So I'd say first figure out where you want to be. If you want to be a grower, then I think you just need to get the experience. I'd be working on a grow and educating myself. Luckily, unlike 15 years ago, there are accredited cannabis horticultural programs if you want to go that route and get a traditional degree. I think we're going to find, as in many industries, the people that are most successful are those that have both the traditional, let's say, book education, kind of the classroom education, but we all know that experience can't be replaced, right? Like that adds. So that's why I say working in a grow while you're educating is nice, because it's nice to have that book knowledge you get in that kind of traditional educational format, but nothing replaces hands-on time with the plant in a grow, getting that experience from mentors, people that have been around the plant 20 years, that can look at a plant and just tell you what's going on with that plant just by glancing at it. And luckily I've been around enough growers to know I'm not the best. There are amazing growers that just, they look at a plant, they can just commune with it just by looking at it. So make sure that I'd say first figure out where you want to be, because there's a lot of places to be in the industry. You could be involved in social media. You could do a hydro shop. There's all these different aspects of cannabis. Growing is just one of them. And it is challenging. I always joke around with, every time I deal with that grower, they're always busy. And I'm like, I've never met a head grower that wasn't just completely slammed and busy 50, 60 hours a week. So it's a lot of work, but for most of them, it is a game of passion for them. They're in it because they love it.
Cool. Well, you heard it here, folks. There's no easy way to do it. You got to put in the hours. You got to put in the time. But if you come out the other side of that, you'll be in a good place. But what do you think are some of the biggest mistakes that people make coming into the industry?
Thinking it's easy.
It's an easy answer.
Thinking it's going to, right, grow it, they will come. So we deal with everything. We love the home grower, but we deal a lot with commercial as well on our side, especially in the lighting arena. And that is the biggest thing. I see them coming in just thinking, oh, I'm going to come in, put a bunch of plants in the ground, grow a bunch of weed. It's money growing on trees. I'm going to sell it and get rich. I'm like, nah, it is complex. as you kind of pointed out before, from seed to sale, there's a lot that happens in there, and you need a lot of knowledge and you need team members. Nobody wins it alone. You have to have a team behind you. So I think it's hubris. People that come in and say, "Oh, I grew 2 plants and I killed it," and people said it was the best weed they ever smoked. I'm like, "Cool, let's see you do it 2,000 plants." Yeah, it's the biggest mistake is overconfidence. Yeah.
Don't be cocky, guys. Don't be cocky. So, all right, final question is where do you see the cannabis industry going in the next few years? Is there anything you're really excited for? Anything that you're looking forward to?
That's a loaded question. I've been in it for, like I said, since rec happened. So, 14 years now, something like that. The one thing I've learned is you can't bank on anything, right? There is really no guarantee. People have been talking about federal legalization like it's around the corner for 15 years. I've watched it come and go. I watched the Cole memo, all these things. I don't think it's going to go fully legal federally, which I'm happy about. About 10 years ago, I came to the realization after listening to people for years, why do we want it to go federally legal? Show me one federally controlled thing that we all like, whether it's guns or pharmaceuticals or anything. They tend to not do a great job. We have the ATF. Do you want it to be the ATFC? I don't know if I want the Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Cannabis organization breathing down the necks of my brother growers. So I wouldn't mind if it didn't go legal. I like the states controlling it to a degree and the feds keeping their hands out of it, not mucking it up. I'd like to see us continue to decriminalize it, get the people out of jail that are there that shouldn't be. And I do hope that we continue down that path. That would be the most important thing right now. I don't need federal legalization, and I don't think we do as an industry. I think we're fine without it. So I hope we kind of continue down the path we're on right now. I would like to see them reschedule it. I don't bet on politics, though, so I don't know if that'll happen. So, yeah.
That's an absolutely great point that I didn't even consider is the government hasn't done a great job of regulating a lot of industries. So maybe it's not the best thing if they come in, put their little hands on it. So anyways, Noah, super awesome conversation. I loved it. I learned a lot and I really appreciate your time. So guys, if you're ever looking to purchase a Alien or Black Dog LED, contact us at james@greenthumbdepot.com or reach out if you have any questions. Love to talk with you guys. And if you need to, I can connect you guys with Noah or anyone over at Black Dog LED.
Definitely. And James, thanks so much for having me on. Thanks for doing the show. We need more and more education in our industry. And thanks for doing the Green Thumb Depot because, as I said, hydro shops are the cornerstone, especially the home grow industry. And we couldn't do it without you guys. So thanks for having me on.